personality disorders. I don't know how to approach this, so I will start with few examples. There's a friend of mine. He's pretty smart guy, and he was like engineer student. I don't know that if he's finished school or not, but now he's like going around our neighborhood and collecting bottles. And we used to play basketball together when we were younger. And he has this personality disorder because there are his weird beliefs and thinking patterns that are a bit odd or eccentric. So he is in eccentric cluster of personality disorder. So we only have to assess which one. Is it schizoid, schizotypal, or paranoid? So because of this independent lifestyle, but still ability to communicate his eccentric beliefs or conspiracy theories and so on. So this can sound a bit contradictory that he talks about conspiracy theories, but he's not paranoid. Well, he's not paranoid in relationships. So he has weird theories, paranoid theories, but not in interpersonal relationships. He is not paranoid nor schizoid, so there's schizotypal personality disorders. For instance, when he talks about aliens and human lizards and so on. But he's spiritual. I think they're more spiritual than average, those who are schizotypal personality disorder. And I like to listen to him, talk to him, and I say okay, because he's actually a pretty good person, just weird. Then there is the other cluster, fearful cluster. I know there's this man who lives in my neighborhood who is, I would say, dependent personality disorder because he's completely unable to live by himself, and his self-assessment of his potential and self-esteem is very low. But something that is, related to his need to be dependent upon someone who will take care of him. So, basic problem, he doesn't have social phobia, because if he's had social phobia, which is an anxiety disorder or social anxiety disorder, then he would probably have this realistic willingness to be healthy, and he would be more constructive in his thought patterns and so on. Because I know this girl, practically she was shaking, lying on her bed, but there was nothing more she wanted than to be healthy, and she was very realistic, like, I'm a normal person, I'm successful, I have this talent, but why am I feeling this? So her story is normal, and his story is degrading and self-sabotaging in many ways. Differences in these thinking patterns that are distorted in personality disorder. So if they have the same levels of anxiety, but completely different stories behind their disorders. Then we have, I would say, friend of mine who is pretty successful in what she did. She has borderline, and she's so immature. So her emotional life is just terrible dramas going on every time she's in a relationship, from being madly in love to going in a second to pure hate. And so she and her husband have this terrible marriage, and then I was like talking to her over phone, and she told me that he was like the worst human being who ever lived on the face of the earth. And after a week or two, I saw her in the newspaper with him talking how they are in love and so on. She's a drama queen, and after love proclamations, she can go in a moment to hate and playing victim, and half an hour later you have this heartbreaking message of her love and so on. So she's a borderline. Yes, there was self-hurting behavior and dramatic, proclamations that about love for her son, and then she just goes for a few months on, I don't know, Hawaii, and I don't know what to say. She just cannot be alone, so she's always looking for Mr. Perfect, and when she finds him, she realizes that no one is perfect, and then her world crashes, and this is what's happening, like forever, never changing story. Unstable relationships and black and white thinking and erratic inability to control her emotions and impulses. Then we have one guy I know in our neighborhood who is paranoid, so standing in the line behind him, he will tell you, why are you standing behind me? Then you say, oh, well, this is, line, we're standing in line. And he goes like, don't you ever do this again. I know who you are. So this is probably, for instance, paranoid. There is also one guy who is schizoid personality disorder, who's, I don't remember he said more than 2 words in the last 20 years to anyone in our neighborhood, but he's good at his job, doesn't show emotions, so they can function pretty well. In business you will find narcissistic personality disorders, people who are very, charming and so on, but if you don't buy their, stories and you don't flatter them, then they will, dismiss you or devaluate you, see this narcissistic rage. And one day you're a person who he trusts, and the other you are nothing, and he just moves on. These personality disorders have many, similar symptoms, so it's not so easy to distinguish one from another. This is why we have this new approach, more dimensional approach, where you first assess levels of personality functioning, impairments that are common for all of personality disorders, and then you have the specifiers for, okay, which of personality disorder this would be, and so on.